Well, this little guy has liked dogs ever since he was little. This is me when I was a little guy. So ever since I was tiny, my mom said that I've always liked dogs. Now, I like all animals, but dogs have been actually my favorite animals ever since I was super tiny. So let's go ahead, Riley. We're going to go and bring out our first doggie. But first, while she's bringing this out, where do you think all dogs came from? They came from wolves. Every dog that we know today are descendants of wolves. Now, wolves, you think, are really beautiful, and some of them you think, oh, they might be mean, and so on and so forth. But all dogs came from wolves. Now, this little doggie, her name is Vanna. And she's a tiny dog, just like the tiny dog in the picture. Now, every dog that came from a wolf was created, the wolves created through breeding tiny dogs and big dogs. So here you see a great big dog, one of the biggest dogs there are, and a tiny little dog. Now, Vanna, that's not Vanna. Vanna is what's called the Chinese crested. Now, if you see, Vanna doesn't have some hair, because a lot of Chinese cresteds, we call them, are the naked dogs. They have some hair, of course, around their head and on their tail and their feet. Some Chinese cresteds actually have hair all over, but in Vanna's case, she just has a little bit of hair on her head and around her feet and so on and so forth. Vanna is actually a show dog, and you'll see Miss Amy. Amy's going to come out here in a little bit with another dog. But you see here, Vanna, here, I'll do this, sweetie. Now here's Riley with another Chinese crested that has a lot of hair. Go ahead, you can go ahead and hold her, sweetie. It's okay. So there's all kinds of varieties of different types of dogs. And of course, that's Vanna looking at herself. She thinks she's kind of proper. Who can tell me, does anybody recognize this dog? That's Pearl. Who is Pearl? Pastor Greg and Bonnie's dog. Pearl used to run around the church all the time when Pastor Greg was here. So we just thought we'd throw Pearl, because Pearl is actually a Chinese crested. Can you believe that? Chinese crested with hair. Now, the next breed I want to show to you is what's called a Norwegian Buhund. Now, this breed is really, really cool. They're very, very smart. Very agile. And you want to know something really cool about the Norwegian Buhunds? It's a very, very old breed dating back way, way, way back into the Viking era. Vikings actually bred and raised Norwegian Buhunds. You know what they used them for? They used them to herd reindeer. Isn't that crazy? And so every dog up here basically has a job, and Chinese cresteds are pretty much a lap dog. They're just for our pets, and they don't really have a job so much other than just being pets. Norwegian Buhunds actually do a variety of different things. And of course, she's a big-time Seahawk fan. Go Hawks, yay. So Bina is, and this is very cool about Bina. Bina, in the dog show world, is the top winningest Norwegian Buhund in breed history. So she's kind of a celebrity. Everybody in the dog show world, basically almost worldwide, knows who Bina is. And here's Amy with some of her other Buhunds. Very, very cool breed. And there's Bina, of course. More pictures. And there's Riley giving Bina some loves. Flat-coated retriever. This dog's a little bit crazy. He's really cool. This is actually Casey. Casey lives up in Monroe, which is about an hour from here. Now, there's another cool thing about Casey. He actually is the top winningest flat-coated retriever in breed history, and he's still being shown. This particular picture, Casey was actually in New York, and he was on TV at this particular time. And this was like 2 years ago. So he can't control his liquor. He absolutely just licks. But one of the happiest dogs you'll ever see. What do you think flat coat retrievers do? What do you think their job would be? Anybody? Yes. Birds. Exactly. What they did is they bred this breed to be retrievers of birds. So when hunters go out for food or whatnot, and they get a bird, Casey will actually jump into the water and retrieve the bird, or go up wherever and find the bird and bring it back. So Casey, he's also a big star in the dog show world. Everybody that kind of is anybody in the dog show world knows Casey. There's Casey winning one of his many best in shows. Casey's one of his favorite things is to go surfing in Hawaii. I kid you not. This is Casey jumping into the ocean, and he absolutely loves the water. Here's Casey being shown in the ring, and that's the judge just over my right shoulder, and she's looking at him, and here's a judge touching the dog and making sure that he conforms to the standard and what he should look like, and so on and so forth. It's kind of an interesting way to make a living. Now, the next doggy, this dog's very cool. They're all cool. But this dog is called a bull mastiff. This dog is bigger than most of 2 or 3 of you put together. Now, this is Tsunami. And he fits his name. And this is Miss Amber. Miss Amber owns Tsunami. Now, Tsunami is one of the top bull mastiffs in the country. I keep on talking about, because these are all show dogs, because that's what I do for a living, is go all over the country showing dogs. So Tsunami is, right now you're looking at him, one of his great pictures that we took down in Orlando, Florida. And here's Miss Amy showing Tsunami this summer, where he won. There was an 800 dog show that he won best in show. So that means he won the top spot at that particular show, over 800 dogs that day. There he is showing off one of his ribbons. And of course, there's Tsunami. Now, can anybody guess what this breed was bred for? Can anybody take a wild guess? They're in the class what's called the working breed. So they're actually working dogs. And they were originally bred in England. Now, what's really cool about these dogs, they were bred, and the people that owned them used them as guard dogs. Now, this is the real cool point about this breed. What they did is, if a poacher or somebody that was trespassing on the property, that the people that own the property didn't want them, these dogs were trained to go out, knock the person over, not hurt them, but literally sit on them, and this is true, and hold them down until the owner came and decided what they were going to do to the trespasser. Now, Tsunami weighs 140 pounds. And so do you think if he sat on you, do you think you could get up if he didn't want you to? Probably not. So it's a very, very cool breed. Tsunami is one of the neatest doggies that you'll ever meet, along with Crazy Casey, Bina, and Vanna. But we're not saving the best for last, but we're going to certainly show you a very interesting breed. This is Tsunami down in Florida, Orlando, Florida, at the National Invitational, which we're actually going to next week. So we'll be there for almost 2 weeks. Over 5,000 dogs will be at this show that we'll be at next week. So it's a huge, huge, huge show. Tibetan Mastiff. This dog is way cool. His name is Major. We call him Major Man. And he looks like a lion. They actually call them the lion dogs. Come on, Major. Come on. Good boy. Riley, do you want to stay here with Major? Now, these dogs are completely used to this, and it looks like they might be choking them, but we're not choking them, believe me. They're so used to these. Are grooming tables that we put them up on all the time. But Major, this particular picture was taken up in Fairbanks, Alaska. Do anybody know where Fairbanks, Alaska is at? Up by the North Pole. It's way up there. And Major and I, when he's retired now, he's 10 years old, but when he was 4, 5, and 6 years old, Major and I flew and drove all over the United States. We went from Anchorage, Alaska, down to Miami, Florida, down to Los Angeles, to Texas, to North Dakota, to New York, all over the place. We averaged 40,000 miles of air travel per year for 3 years in a row. It was crazy. He has frequent flyer miles. But Major, one thing about it is he is a very, very cool dog. This is a breed that was bred in Tibet. Now, Tibet is an Asian country. And what they bred these dogs for was specifically to, again, they're working dogs, so they're actually, they're guard dogs. But what they were bred for is to guard the properties of the people that owned them against wild animals and, of course, poachers. These dogs are what's called nocturnal dogs. They usually are awake at night. They sleep during the day. They're actually very lazy. But when they're ready to do their job, they can just bolt up like a lightning bolt and do what they're supposed to do. Major sat, as he sits here, he's like, I think I said he's 10 years old, so he's retired from the dog shows. But what they did with this breed, they specifically would use this breed to attack animals like wolves or mountain lions if they came into the camps or the villages. So these were protectors of the villages. And Major kind of looks bigger than Tsunami, but he only weighs about 120 pounds. So it's just a lot of hair. This particular picture was Major when he very first won his very first Best in Show. And it was so cool because there's not a lot of Tibet, this is Major in the ring too, but there was not a lot of Tibetan Mastiffs that have done a lot of winning. So, can we play this? What I want to do is, in closing, we'll play this in just a second if it will work. Jesus, God, and God created all these animals, and they enrich our lives. They make us happy. Sometimes they can make us sad. But the whole point of it is they're all here for a specific reason. And each one of them have their own personalities, just like every one of you has your own personalities. And some of them are super happy, like this crazy dog. Some of them are super lazy, like this funny dog. Some of them are super funny, like this dog. I mean, they're all great. So when Jesus and God created these animals, wouldn't you think that it would almost be like if God loves us so much and he gives us these animals that we can love them in return, it's almost like we would feel the same as we would know how God would love us is how we love our animals. How many of you have doggies or a dog for a pet? A few of you. Okay, good. How many have other kind of pets? Horse, chicken. Casey has a pet. But I want to thank you for having us today. And as we exit out with all the dogs, hopefully this video will play. It's a really, really cool song specifically about God and dogs. Thank you very much. go ahead and take them out.
See my dog, simple spelling G-O-D, same word backwards D-O-G. They would stay with me all day, I'm the one who walks away, but both of them just wait for me and dance at my return with glee. Both love me no matter what, divine God and canine mutt. I take it hard each time I fail, but God forgives, dog wags his tail. God thought up and made the dog, dog reflects a part of God. I've seen love from both sides now, it's everywhere, amen, bow wow. I look up and I see God, I look down and see my dog, and in my human frailty, I can't match their love for me.
Is this still on? One last thing before you go back to your seats. After Pastor Willie is done with his sermon, I would like to invite anybody, even adults. We're going to bring some of the doggies out here. If you would like to meet them, you don't have to. But then we also have a little present for every one of you. So even if you don't want to meet the dogs or pet the dogs, you can still come up and I can give you the little present that we have. And lastly, before Pastor Willie comes up, they say in show business you should never follow dogs or children. So good luck, Pastor Willie, wherever he is. But thank you.
So I guess I'm the one who gets to follow the dogs and the children. So thank you. That song had me in tears. Thank you, Tony. That was great. Well, this, I guess I might as well share why I'm crying. We have a great little dog named Tayo, who is a Korean Jindo, and in the song with the video, the dog wagging its tail, it's just how he is when I get home. So, thanks.